Let's be honest, traveling on a motorcycle is a great way to empty your bank account. But how much should you actually expect to pay for crossing continents on your motorcycle? And the other day, one of my friends asked me, how much do you actually expect to pay for that motorcycle trip from Malaysia to Denmark? And the only thing I could say was, I actually don't know because I haven't done the full calculation. So today I think we should try to make a rough estimate of the overall cost for my travel from Malaysia to Denmark starting in April. So the plan is we're shipping our motorbikes from Denmark to Malaysia and then we start riding. So we start in Malaysia, ride through Thailand, into Laos, into China, into Mongolia somewhere here, north around Tibet, into Kyrgyzstan, a quick loop in Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Iran, all the way through Turkey into Europe, and then we end up in Denmark. Total, we expect to ride 20,000 kilometers, and we expect it to take around 10 weeks or 70 days. And let's just jump straight into the initial costs we have already paid before even starting the trip. First, we have some shipping of the motorbikes. We are shipping 3 motorbikes in a private container. It is approximately the same price as shipping your motorbike individually. 2,000 euros per motorbike. And then the next big cost we have is because we have to ride through China. And in China, we're not allowed to ride without a Chinese driver's license, which we obviously don't have. So we will ride together with a group tour, which is a little expensive. It's with a guide, 23 days with accommodation included. So China tour for 23 days, which we have paid 3,000 euros for. And approximately the same issue for Turkmenistan. The easiest way to get into Turkmenistan is also by hiring a guide who will pick you up at the Turkmenistan border and take you through the country, arrange a few days of sightseeing together with you and your motorbike, and then escort you to the border at the other end of the country. And then you can move on. Turkmenistan tour, 5 days. 800 euros for that Turkmenistan tour. We have also paid for the temporary customs document, CPD, which is 350 euros plus 70 euros in shipping the physical documents. So that's a total of 420 euros. And then there's also a flight ticket to meet the motorbikes. I currently live in China, so I only have to fly to Malaysia, which might be a little bit cheaper than flying all the way from Denmark to Malaysia. 150 euros for that flight ticket. One way, cheap. So that's all our initial costs. And now we can start to make a rough estimate of how much we expect to spend on these 70 days riding our motorbikes. So it's a total of 70 days, but we have already paid for 23 days of accommodation at the Chinese guided tour. So it's only 47 days where we need hotels. Actually, in the Turkmenistan tour, there's meals included all 5 days. So we only need to care about buying food for 65 days. Alright, so hotels. Of course, it depends on where in the world you plan to travel. We will start in Asia, where you can get hotels very, very cheap. Then we will move our way from Asia into Europe, where we'll get more and more expensive. But I think it should be possible to spend maybe 30 euros a day on hotels. We might end up also doing some wild camping and sleeping in the wild in our tents, which of course will lower the average price of the hotels. But I think 30 euros per hotel is a good estimate. 30 euros per day, 47 days, which is a total of 1,410 euros for accommodation. Just a quick correction here. I'm editing the video, and I can see that I forgot our Turkmenistan tour is also included 5 days of accommodation. So instead of buying hotels for 47 days, it's only 43 days. So it will be around 150 euros. Wrong, the final calculation. But I don't think that is that big of a deal, so I won't do anything about it. And also, I'm not that clear about all costs and prices I'm listing in the video. It's per person for everything. Let's get back to the video. And then we have food and drinks for these 65 days. Of course, how much you spend on food and drinks depends on what you want to eat and what you don't want to eat, and also how many beers you expect to drink. But I think roughly also 30 euros per day is a good estimate. So that's 30 euros times 65 days, which is 1,950 euros. Next, we have how much it costs to cross countries. Every time you cross a border into a new country, you have to pay for insurance for the motorbike. You have to pay for some taxes and some fees for entering. And maybe you also have to pay for a visa for the country. Of course, some of the visas we have done in advance because you have to do that. I'll just include all these fees entering every country. The most expensive countries on our tour is China, which is around 150 euros for the visa. And then also Turkmenistan is also 150 euros for the visa. A good average is around 70 or 80 euros per border crossing. When we reach Europe, we don't have to pay for every border crossing anymore. So this border crossing is mostly in Asia. In Asia, I think we will cross 10 expensive borders. So that's 80 euros per border times 10, which is 800 euros. And then we have fuel for the motorbikes. So the trip is approximately 20,000 kilometers. And I know that my Africa Twin will go around 16 kilometers per liter. It of course depends on how we ride and how much we pack the bikes. But 16 kilometers per liter it's a good estimation. That's 20,000 kilometers divided by 16 kilometers per liter, which means we have to use 1,250 liters of fuel. We will in average pay maybe 1.5 euros for 1 liter. So that's 1,250 liters times 1.5 euro. 1,875 euros on fuel. This is approximately what I expect us to spend riding our motorbikes for these 70 days. Of course, we also have some maintenance on the motorbikes. We will need a new set of tire, and we will also need to change oil and oil filter around halfway through the trip. And I think we can get away with that for maybe 500-600 euros. And when we are speaking about bikes, before we shipped our bikes, we of course did everything we had to do to the bikes to make them as ready as possible for riding 20,000 kilometers. And it depends on what bike you have and how much you need to do to it to make it ready. The price will of course vary. I paid 2,200 euros for preparing my Africa Twin for this trip. And now we can calculate a total expected cost riding 20,000 kilometers in 10 weeks from Malaysia to Denmark. Adding all these numbers together, I get 15,205 euros. This is of course only a very rough estimation. And you will always ride longer than you expect because of all the detours and every time you get lost and cannot find the hotels. And you might also eat and drink more than you expect. So adding maybe 10-20% to this number might be a good idea. Adding 10% and we have around 16,700 euros. So this is my calculation, and this is how much I expect all my costs to be for my coming trip riding from Malaysia to Denmark on my motorcycle. When I tell other motorcyclists about this coming trip, I get especially two questions. One is, what is my expected costs? And number two is how we arranged and how much we paid for shipping our motorbikes. In this video up here, I go through the whole process. See you there.